Today's episode is brought to you by the Twisted Fork. Eat, drink, and enjoy. Larry, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Kurt, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, man?
Doing good, man.
How was your day so far?
Today was a good day. I was working on a lot of music for some show
Yeah, man.
with your band.
We're going to tell the audience all about that.
Yeah.
So you are a wonderful, wonderful musician. I'm not going to say you're a piano player. You're a hell of a lot more than a piano player. You're a composer. You're an arranger. You're a producer.
Yeah.
You sing. You play piano. You play other instruments as well. I mean, you're just a musically talented guy, man. How did you get that way? Like,
It's a great question. Well, you know, I come from a lineage of musicians. My mom was a great musician that couldn't read so well, but she played with just a beautiful feel. Whatever she play, she put her heart and soul into it.
is that the most important, you think, is the feel and that more so than maybe knowing every scale or knowing how to read chart?
I would say what makes music, at least what touches me, when I feel the ancestry, when I feel all the people in the room coming from that resonance of the person, and that inspires me. That's the beauty of music for me.
But-
Technique is important, but I would say to get the idea out, I've always loved world music because a lot of the world music from Africa, from Brazil, it's all, and I've been to these places for that reason. It's all about the culture and the spirit and the passion and ancestry.
But when you know that, and now
Yeah.
it's going into your brain,
Yeah.
and now you're performing and it's coming out of your fingertips, so that transforms you, right? So like you'll play differently knowing that, right?
Yeah. Well, certain songs, what happens is the technique. I'm glad you mentioned the technique because you're reading a piece of music, and it's technique to read it, play it properly. You're reading the notes, you're watching your fingering, you're curving your fingers, but then to get to that next level, then you have to own it. You have to read the lyrics. You have to know what style it is. Every style, whether it's jazz, rock, classical, you need to know just the literature of where they're coming from and the time period.
Well, here's a great question. I
Yeah.
asked this to everybody in that chair. As a musician, do you think musicians are born, like you have a gift at birth and then it's developed, or is it purely something that you're trained like a machine? Like, don't you have to have rhythm? Like, I think the best musicians are ones that were born with rhythm and the ability to multitask.
It's a great question. It's the parents. Well, it started when I had a couple moments in my life. I remember I was in elementary school and a music teacher played some like folk music in the class, and I couldn't get over it. I just couldn't get over it. I'm like,
Now, what do you mean when you say you couldn't get over it? Like, did it consume you, man?
It consumed me.
Was it like
it went through me.
like almost like sugar would go into your body and you just get that rush, man? Like, I have to have this.
Yeah, what really connected was the music and the story. I think I was like a little, you know, just in elementary, maybe kindergarten. I think it was like John Henry
Sure.
or one of these
Right.
train stories, and I'm intoxicated with sound and that great story about John Henry hammering. It was the Industrial Revolution.
Sure.
I remember hammering.
Big John.
Yeah,
Big
and that
Bad John.
picture of John Henry, and he lost. So those kinds of stories enlightened me. And then my mom, she would sing and she'd play like Summertime, George Gershwin, some Bob Dylan. But also my grandfather used to listen to me just play as a baby, just like maybe 5 years old. He'd want to hear me play Bob Dylan songs or
So
Broadway.
you had a
Yeah.
natural ability at a young age.
Yeah.
Your parents recognized it. They themselves were musicians. They were playing that kind of music. So you grew up to that stuff.
Yeah.
So therefore your brain probably developed pretty quickly and you picked it up. Because Keith Richards says something that's really interesting. When he was at the height of writing all those great songs, he said that the universe just spoke to him. Like he would just be laying in a room or sitting in a chair and then the music was all around. It just filtered into his brain and he figured it out. You know what I'm saying? Like it was always there. He just had to decipher it like a funnel. And they would immediately write it down or record it, you know, and it would be these hit songs.
That's amazing.
I mean, do you think like
But
Beethoven, like those cats back then, they didn't have internet, right? They didn't have like the electricity. So how would they being like how did Beethoven get inspired? Like what was he listening to?
well, you know what I would say? That period with Beethoven, Mozart, it was an Enlightenment period in Germany, in that area of Germany, and there was such amazing education. And there were other musicians that were just as talented as Beethoven, but Beethoven really put the struggle into his work, which made it so strong. He probably, no one talks about, probably had some blockage in writing the music that made him just experiment with so many different areas. Sometimes the deficiencies in your instrument or your understanding of music become your blessings later on. So I would say Beethoven, from struggling so much, from just being stuck and having probably health problems as most of his life, it made his music so deep, and
Yeah,
there's blood in his music.
sure. That's very interesting.
And I would say someone like Mozart, they say it just came to
It
him
was the opposite.
mathematically,
Yeah.
and it's pure flow. But listen to the depth of Beethoven compared to Mozart. They're both phenomenal. I love all that music. I love classical music.
Now, when you're composing, do you find yourself gravitating to a certain style? Were you so influenced by the Mozarts and the Beethovens that perhaps your style is in that particular type of framework, or is it more of a jazzy? You know, as you got older and you got into rock and jazz, you know, like how would you describe your style when you compose?
Well, if I compose, I always look for from the earlier conversation we had. It's got the songwriting just has to come where I'm just playing and then I'm lost. I'm kind of just feeling the keys. I'm in kind of a rhythm. I'm locked in, and then I'm just singing randomness. And that's how I love when I write music. It's from the earth.
Is there a certain key that you gravitate to though? You find yourself gravitating to more so than others?
Well, if I'm looking at the keyboard and wherever my hands land, I'll start writing in that key. But mm, that's a good question. No, not really. I remember having to do something on keys in it for my master's in music. It was like a dissertation on each key that represents certain, like an E flat represents war, and B flat minors like
Interesting.
ghosts. And so I'd imagine if you're really into storytelling, which I love to tell stories, and I can tell you're an amazing speaker and storyteller, to find to make sure everything is perfect, looking at the key is important. Looking at obviously, is it major? Is it minor? Are we entering a certain area? Do we want it to be haunting here? What kind of chord are we playing? What kind of mode? See, then we get into modes. You know, there's major modes and there's minor modes, and each mode really represents the Greek islands. You know, you have Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. Each one's an island from the Greek and Roman musicologists. And each one, there's major ones, the Ionian, Lydian, Mixolydian, and the minor ones are Dorian, Phrygian, Aeolian, and Locrian. So you go into those realms, and it makes your creativity very easy, because if you stick with any of those modes and you stay with it a while, anyone can come up with something kind of magical.
So you were trained, you were very successful at a young age. Then you started listening to the radio. I'm sure you started getting into the bands. I want to throw out some musicians and some
Yeah.
bands, and I want to hear what you think. So let's start with Elton John.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Elton John?
Amazing trained piano player. Great, because I don't know if he writes too many of his lyrics. I know it's Bernie Taupin that writes his lyrics, but from studying so much classical music, he went to the Royal Academy of Music, I think. He learned the technique. He learned the architecture of music. He learned about the composers. He learned periods. And for him, he's given lyrics to something and storytelling, his mind is traveling to different
Is it
parts of the
harder? You think
world.
it's harder to write
Yeah.
music for lyrics or to write lyrics for music? Like what do you think is harder to do or more challenging?
Well, as a pianist, which comes natural to me, I can just sit down and start writing immediately. writing lyrics, I kind of have to struggle through it.
But the thing
And
is
it's
that,
harder.
but to your point earlier, Bernie gave him the lyrics, and then he had to compose to that, right?
Yeah.
So that to me is genius because maybe Bernie thought about this, but then Elton just took it in a different direction, but it worked, you know?
Yeah. And Elton John's probably, I've seen him speak, he's probably an amazing storyteller
Yeah.
because he's putting himself in that whatever, I mean, you know, your song or any of those, Tiny Dancer, immediately you're drawn in.
He's so good. You know, the 70s, okay, the soundtrack to my life
Yeah.
in the 70s was all Elton John, dude. I mean, I could put his greatest hits on or all of his Honky Chateau, all the Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only Playing, all the early stuff. And I could tell you a story about my life, where I was during these songs, like what they mean to me. I grew up listening to Elton John.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to switch gears.
Yeah.
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel is fantastic as well. Again, similar. He has more Americana jazz chops. He's more in that New Orleans jazz. And probably both artists have perfect pitch. They can hear everything and they internalize it. They hear the chords. They hear the melodic structure. And the second the lyrics are written down, they read it and they're like, oh, okay. It's going to be, yeah. If there's a word in there that says New Orleans, you can say, okay, ragtime, or New Orleans style piano playing, Fats Waller, kind of something like that, honky tonk. And he'll go there and he'll get those trigger points of lyrics. And then he'll start going at it and do his magic and come up with a motif. But basically, I would say Billy Joel and Elton John, they're borrowing. I won't say stealing. They're borrowing licks from all the classics.
Sure. I mean, rock and roll.
Nothing wrong with it.
They all, as young people, got bit by the rock and roll bug. You know, I mean, some of the greatest times in rock and roll were the Beatles coming to America, right? Yep. Bob Dylan deciding that he was going to go electric at a jazz festival, right? You know, there are certain things that define the rock and roll movement. And then I think a lot of these classically trained piano players started playing and maybe in double time and started doing other things that became more rock and roll.
Yes.
And maybe some people didn't like it at that time. Maybe back then they're like, what are you doing? That's the devil's music. They used to always say rock and roll was bad. Like there was a time when people didn't listen to rock and roll. They were against it, or they would protest and burn records.
Well, I guess the church was so into education. So when they say, well, because the devil music comes from the tritone. If you're on an instrument, you know.
Explain that.
Okay, the tritone is tri meaning three. The tritone, if I said middle C on the piano, a sharp 4, the F sharp, and the C above it, an octave above it. Tri meaning 3. It goes both ways. So that tritone creates a dissonance, but great writing, great music. It's the dissonance going into the consonants, the darkness mixed in with the calm makes magic. And you kind of need both. It's funny. I was watching not about a week ago, something on wine. And it talks about how the best wine, sometimes it went through earthquakes. Sometimes there were floods in these periods of France and Germany and Napa Valley and these areas. And it made the wine so rich because of what happened in the environment. And the same it's similar with music. You know, Beethoven, when he's Sonata Pathétique, there's so many difference. There's so much passion in that music. But you can almost feel the pain in that music. Elton John, when you're hearing your song, when you hear some of the words, I'm trying to think of some of the lyrics. It's a little bit funny. This
How
feeling
wonderful
inside.
life is with you and the world.
Yeah, I mean, you see imagery with that, and his pain, because I know he was struggling because he was in his life.
Interpretation.
Yeah.
Speaking of interpretation, so I love what you've done with Prince's Purple Rain. Your interpretation of that, it's brilliant.
Thank you.
I mean, I actually listen to it and I fall asleep to it because it's just beautiful. It's so melodic, and you're throwing in so many notes that I didn't think you could possibly throw in there, and they work. I mean, you're it's incredible.
Thank you.
So let's talk about today. So another reason why you're here is that you're the newest member of Jacked Up, and we're so excited to have you perform with us. We got a bunch of shows in September. You and I have already sat down and gone through some of the music.
Yeah.
And it's so great to have you because you're such a talented player, but you're also a great guy too.
Oh, Kurt,
And your
thank
personality
you.
is going to blend beautifully with the five of us.
I can't wait to meet everybody.
Yeah, you haven't met Larry yet, our guitarist.
Yeah.
And you haven't met Jared, but you did meet our great singer, Sarah Santiago.
Yes, I did.
And you two are going to make beautiful music together. You're going to feed off each other because she needs someone like you to guide her and take her to the next level, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to appreciate her because you're going to tell her to hit a certain key and she's going to hit it.
That's great. I can't wait to hear her work.
Yeah. So Jacked Up's a lot of fun. So we're going to go out there and we're going to hit all these bars and restaurants and venues. And I'm currently working on some big stuff for us, trying to get us more corporate gigs, more wedding gigs. And the people at home that are listening to this right now, I'm going to tell them, if you don't come to see Larry Edoff perform with us, right? What did I say in that? And when I wrote,
I better start practicing.
I said a Grammy nominated musician is now meets Jacked Up, you know, the unique rock and roll sound of Jacked Up. It's going to be a beautiful marriage there.
Oh, I love it.
So what do you love the most about playing and performing?
Well, you know, it's the angst. When I was a kid, that's what kind of kept me going. You know, I think all of us in music wanted to be seen on stage performing and audiences listening. And that's
Clapping,
always in
applause,
our, yeah. And just to be on stage with the lights and you're just really focused and you're trying to just, you know, create a moment where, you know, there's nothing else you should be doing.
Right.
And that's what music is.
And then you come to realize that you're good. Like, not just because people tell you that you're good, but then you get to a point in your career where like, wait a minute, you know what? I'm actually good at what I do. And people are enjoying this. Yeah. I mean, and to your credit, I mean, you've been sought after by lots of people to produce music for them, right? I mean, you've recorded a lot of people. You've played live with a lot of people. You've toured. Let's talk about some of those people you've played with. You had mentioned that you had an experience with Tony Bennett.
Well, that was, I was pretty young when that happened. I went to Berklee College of Music and I met a lot of great musicians. And a good friend of mine is Tony's daughter, Antonia Bennett. So Antonia and I we happened to live she lived right across the street from me. So I'd go to her apartment and we'd rehearse together, a lot of standards. And there was one time her dad showed up and he's like, Larry, you sound great. And she introduced me and said, this is my good friend, Larry. And Tony's like, yeah, I was playing. And at the time, one of Tony's great records is a 2-disc Bill Evans record. And it's so brilliant. I mean, Bill Evans is one of my favorite jazz pianists. So lyrical. His touch is amazing. And so Antonia says, Larry, why don't you write a song for maybe my dad? So I said, sure. So I happen to write a song. I don't hear anything for a long time. And happened to be at Antonia's apartment. I was playing it. And Tony's there. He says, you know, Larry, he heard it. That's a fantastic song. And I didn't hear anything about it for quite a long time, probably 6 months. So Tony is performing with his piano player, Ralph Sharon, and the Count Basie Orchestra at Tanglewood in Massachusetts. And Antonia, great friend of mine, says, Larry, you want to go with me to see my dad with the Count Basie Orchestra? And he's performing there. And there's probably 5,000 people. I said, sure. So I'm backstage. I'm talking to Ralph, great guy. And Tony's in the dressing room. He says, you know, Larry, that song you wrote, you want to do that song with Antonia? And
right now?
Right now.
Yeah.
I was dressed in college
So
clothes.
they kind of set you up a little bit.
They set me up.
Setup.
So we performed it that
awesome.
night. And it was amazing.
Was it magical?
It was magical because I wasn't ready.
I know, but sometimes when you're not ready, that's when the adrenaline kicks in, man. And that's when the magic happens, dude. Am I right?
Yeah. 100%. Well, it was magical, but it was the most I've ever performed for. I mean, there must have been 10,000 people there. I don't know.
How did you feel after the performance? Like, were you just like elated? Like, oh my God, we just hit a home run?
I had the Count Basie Orchestra were playing some hits with us.
Oh, so you kept going?
Well, no. Hits meaning just like brass hits and different things. They never heard the song before. That they were playing together.
I see what you're saying.
So it was with them as well. And I had a lot of people come up to me and says, "Man, you're a great songwriter. This is
Yeah.
you got to do more of this, and I'm going to give you this name to call this
Yeah,
guy."
man.
So it was like
That's how it happens.
it was an end to the business at the time. What it led to, I don't know, but it was a great experience.
I'm sure it was, man.
Because that's the thing with the music business. You have these amazing highs. You're performing
Yes.
for 10,000 people, and the next day you're back at your doing
Right.
something else, and you have to get used to that as a musician.
Let's talk about this too. Let's talk about some of the countries you've been to, because you've toured all over the world.
Yeah.
So can you, a couple experiences you can let us know about?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been to Cuba 7 times. I've been to Africa. I've been to Brazil. I've been to Thailand. I've been to China. I've been to Japan. I mean, an amazing musical experience that I had was in Africa, in Ghana, where there's percussion that is it's called the Ewe. It's from the Ewe tribe, EWE, and they do music that is so there's supportive roles and there's a master drummer, and they do it in about 4 hours outside of Accra, and the music it's extremely powerful, but it's all from the soul. It's all ancestral.
So
It's
are you
amazing.
playing to them or are they playing to you?
You're playing with them,
Okay.
but there's a master drummer doing all the counter rhythms.
But are you playing like a specific song or are you just jamming?
Oh, we're just jamming on djembes and
Gotcha.
different cowbells and
Yeah.
different
And was that in
drums.
front of a large audience?
That was actually just the study.
But what does I'm curious
Yeah.
to know what are audiences in Africa versus audiences in America versus audiences in Cuba or in Asia? Are they different kind of audiences, different kinds of attention that's played? That's
It's a great question. Japan was extremely quiet. Everyone would really listen.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
And they
listen to
were
every note.
lovely, and some of the work they did before I performed, they did everything for you. You just walk on stage. The piano, they'd spend hours tuning the piano, getting it right, getting your chair right. What can they get you? Bring you tea. It was wonderful people. I love Japan.
So based on that, do you think music is like but definitely the universal language in the sense that any country you're in, people understand and appreciate music, and you can have a dialogue just with music alone?
I think certain countries that are really musical. I mean, Cuba's amazing with the culture's amazing. It's changed. Every time, because I've been to Cuba like 25 years ago, and I've been there just as recently as January. It changes. It's the people now. A lot of American music has crossed in, and it's unfortunately a lot of the pop music that is kind of deficient, where you don't really need to listen as deep as to like folk music or world music or even Elton John or the classic rock that I know you love and you feel it deeply. That music, you have to really be attentive to take it all in. A lot of the pop music is like candy. It goes in one ear out the other. It's passing by. It serves a purpose, but I feel like truthfully, the attention span of the listener has changed because of the technology.
That's my next question. Does a guy like you, who's classically trained, is there a high level of frustration with the music industry today and some of the stuff that's being produced? Like, do you feel like people are taking serious shortcuts and they're not true to the art or the craft?
I think if you're working with really high level musicians, they're always going to try their best to give you a great performance. However, a number of factors. One, because of the social media, the telephone, the distractions from life in just now this age that we live in, no one is at the level that they used to be 20 years ago.
Sure.
And so we've learned to adapt. And by adapting, it's great. But the thing is, the quiet that we used to have doesn't exist anymore. That's probably why we're down here in Sarasota. It's so beautiful. And there's a quiet and calmness that exists here. Being in Connecticut or New York, which is fantastic, or Jersey, they're great cities and everything. But there's a level of constant on the go that in some ways it may make you productive, it may make you working, but that calmness, you have to, it takes so many levels to get the calm up there. Down here, you
I
can get
agree.
to it a lot quicker, I think. You see water, you feel the sun on you, you smell the air here, the animals are everywhere. The birds are beautiful
You know,
here.
you and I share a lot of things, but one of them is that we're from the Northeast.
Yeah.
You're from Philly, right? Lived in New York.
Yes.
I'm from New York. I lived with the college in Philly. Um, Florida was always a reward or treat for us as kids. Like we're going to Florida on vacation. So as a young kid, we always held Florida in high regard
Yeah.
because it's beaches and it's palm trees and it's oranges.
Absolutely.
So it was always a real treat to come to Florida. And then my parents would always brag about how they're going to sell the house one day and retire to Florida. And then we always had that station wagon with taking those trips. So like everybody knew that you were going to basically live in New York and retire to Florida and die in Florida. That was like the game plan.
Right.
And everybody was on board with that.
Yeah.
Everybody was cool with it. What I did was I came down a lot younger. So my parents sold the house, retired. I came to visit them and I was in a position where I could transfer within the advertising world that I was in. So I was able to come down here at a young age and I've been here for a while now. And it was one of the best things I ever did, man, because I was caught up in that rat race, man. And I didn't understand what quiet was. And it was always loud. And there was always a train going somewhere or an alarm or a fire alarm or a baby crying. Down here, man, you can actually walk on the beach at night and you could be alone,
It's a beautiful thing, man.
you know?
Yeah. And just to actually listen to nature down here. This is like you said, the beach, and you listen to the birds. I forgot how many beautiful birds these sandhill cranes look like ostriches. I see them all the time, and they always stay together as a couple.
And
It's
you're going to see a lot of
beautiful.
gators too. And
Yes.
there's beauty in that. I mean, there's beauty in that.
Yeah,
It's
I
not,
see it all the time.
but do you think that based on what you just said, you're going to be able to compose more and be different in your approach to music? You think by your environment's changed now?
Yeah, my playing has changed. I think it's I'm always listening to music all the time, but it helps me. It's just a different feeling. It's kind of like when you travel, you listen to music. Sometimes you're on an airplane. Really, things really get highlighted. I'm like, oh man, I've heard so many of these certain pieces. I listen to, some classic rock. I listen to tons of jazz, Keith Jarrett, McCoy Tyner, John Coltrane, Bill Evans. I mean, Billy Joel, Elton John. I mean, there's so many great artists to listen to. And
So
world music is,
yeah, so
intense. Yeah.
jacked
So,
up's just for fun, but outside of that, you teach, right? People can hire you
Yeah.
to do concerts and make arrangements, right? Can you write jingles as well and all that stuff?
anything. Done it. Yeah, anything.
Okay. So how would people contact you? Like if people are watching this show and like, you know what, I want that guy to write me a song, or I want to jam with him, or I want to, maybe get my kid to have lessons from him. How can they contact you?
Well, they can, should I give my phone number?
You can give out your phone number, or we
Okay.
can put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Is there an email though, perhaps that
They
you
can
might?
always email me at LarryEdoffmusic at Gmail.
So that's LarryEdoff
Music at Gmail.
music at Gmail, and they can reach you. And you're pretty good about returning stuff,
I'm immediately.
right?
And also moving down here, I'm hoping to get even a lot of my musician friends down here. I ended up when I moved here because buying property and different things. I also help people with investments in real estate.
Would you
So
like to
that's
have a
it.
little jazz band? Like you said, bringing your musician buddies down. These are highly trained guys like yourself.
Yeah.
Would it be a jazz kind of group, or would it be more like a classical? Like, what would it sound like? What would it be?
Well, I have a lot of records out of different music. I have a song. What's one of my songs? I have something called Cold Eyes. That's kind of vibe that I created.
Is it bluesy?
No, it's in the style of maybe Sting, Peter Gabriel, Dave Matthews, some classic rock elements, some jazz elements, some world music elements.
Dave Matthews is wonderful because he's kind of like a jam kind of guy with
Yeah,
with
love that.
jazz elements to him, right?
Yes.
Is there a little folk in him too, maybe?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. One, he's
know?
got the violin in
Yeah, and
there.
then the little rock thrown in. Like it's kind of like a little hodgepodge. Or
Yeah. Yeah. He's very talented. He has his own way of playing guitar and very creative. Plus, I think he's from South Africa. Some of that South African music's wonderful as well. I hear some of his South African influence. Even if he was born here, it doesn't
yeah.
matter.
Are you currently working on pieces? Like, is there like a lot of unfinished stuff that you're working on composing still?
I have a piece right now called Kaleidoscope that I'll have to play for you. That sounds
Yeah.
really cool. I'll just play if you want. You could play. I'll send you file, you can just play the instrumental.
Well, we're going to put some of your music in this segment so our listeners can hear little samples of you.
干干发芽，神州大地是我家。5000年的岁月洗礼它，从未衰减它的芳华。长江黄河赋予我，所有风雨我尝过，哪怕它曾经流泪，自由在我心中，自由在我脑中，祖国永在我心窝。万里长城我画下，山上五月美如画。56个民族围绕它，延续巨龙的神话。长江黄河哺育我，所有风雨我尝过，哪怕它曾经流泪，自由在我脑中，自由在我心中，祖国永在我心窝。自由在我脑中，自由在我心中，祖国永在我心
Like I said, oh, you did Faithfully too. Oh, so I want to talk about this. So,
Yeah.
one of the things that's really appealing, there's many things appealing about you, but you were in a Journey tribute band, but one of the best in the nation, right? You were in Frontiers,
Yes.
and it was just a short period of time, but you toured with those guys, right?
Tour-
That must have been a wonderful experience.
Well, you know, learning any tribute band that you're in to really go to that next level of learning all the parts, really listening to Steve Perry's amazing voice and see his influences. And what's the great guitar player?
Neil Schon.
Neil Schon, fantastic. The whole band,
The whole
and
band is,
writing,
yeah.
the writing is stellar. I would say that they're jazz musicians, and they really took the ballads and they really their music. It's like it really just breathes.
But when Jonathan Cain,
what
he
a writer.
he changed the band,
Yeah.
because they were a great rock and roll band with they came from Santana,
Yes.
Greg Raleigh and Neil, and they were young guys.
Mhm.
But when he came, that's when Faithfully and Don't Stop Believing and all those ballads, man, that became very popular on MTV because MTV was the right place at the right time for Journey.
Yeah.
They exploded.
Yeah, it feels like when Jonathan King came into the band, it's spiritual. It became really spiritual. Listen to Faithfully. The second you hear those first chords, man, you're taken right in. They're spirituals. They're almost like church hymns.
That's a great point. I was going to
You
ask
know?
this question. So a guy like you with a trained ear like you are, when you hear rock and roll, and rock and roll could be anything, but then you hear something like Faithfully, like you just said, and you're like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. Like he's doing things that most rock and roll guys wouldn't do.
Yeah, I don't think from that when I remember driving, maybe I was in someone else's car at the time. I was too young when that song came out. But that was the kind of music, there's a few songs that you can remember when it was on the radio. I think I remember driving in New York. Maybe someone was driving me, but I listened to some of those Journey tunes and you heard Steve Perry's voice and it was Faithfully or some of their ballads. You just have to really raise the volume and just really take that in. And that's really what the presence of music and the healing aspect of it really penetrates through you and you're like, wow, it was beautiful.
Do you believe in this statement I'm about to make? Music is therapy.
Well, it's funny. I ended up studying some acupuncture for a little while because I was commissioned to compose a Chinese national anthem from a man in upstate from Hong Kong, and the Chinese music was all about the healing aspects of the music by what I had to do to write the music. That's a whole nother segment we could talk about. But the way the Chinese culture is, because I had to study it so deeply to write the music and orchestrate it and arrange it. And, but where certain instruments will hit you a certain way and the certain points and how it affects your breathing, you can go really deep into music and know what certain chords will affect your breathing and your tempo and the rhythm and where you're feeling the grounding of the beat. You know, if it's in 4/4, is it in 3/4, is it in 6/8? You know, so many countries. To feel music properly, you have to know so much of the culture to be a musician. If you're just listening to music and you're just playing chords and you're playing modes and you know how to solo a little bit, it's so much deeper than that.
So then you had a monumental task that you had to write a Chinese piece without being a Chinese person and living in the Chinese world. So how did you get into that? How did you accomplish that?
Well, this is a interesting story. I was I think I was asked, or I found someone that needed a musician to go on tour for these Chinese artists, and it happened to be in a casino in Chicago. So we start rehearsing, and it was all Chinese musicians. Some spoke English, some did not, and it was just like Chinese pop music. So then we do the show. It was great. And I guess from that point on, I was known as a supporting, like, music director for some Chinese artists, even though it was only 2 artists I work with.
But were you playing just strictly Chinese music, or was it American music?
It was all Chinese music, but it was Chinese pop. So it's kind of taken from American music. So anyway, I end up, this Chinese woman says, you know, Larry, I have someone that needs a producer and a writer. Would you be interested? I said, sure. What's the project? And this goes on to talk about he needs 3 pieces for a movement that he was part of, that he was trying to create a movement. And I'll have to get more into that.
I know this could be a long.
This gets a long.
But I want to throw in that if you try to create a movement in a place like China, you can also get executed.
That's and I was strictly just a hired gun, strictly for the music.
Right.
But what was amazing about the project, if someone asked you to write, because I feel I was the perfect person for it, because I've written American anthems before. I used to write for Tiger Woods. Behind him, when he would, on his ESPN shows, a lot of the music when he would golf was my music.
No kidding.
So they asked me, I'm like, well, what are you looking for? He's like, I want Americana music, kind of like Bruce Hornsby-ish.
I love Bruce.
Which is, if you listen to Bruce Hornsby, it's got bluegrass in it. It's a little jazz influence,
yes,
but he's a great jazz player. And it's got that American kind of Appalachian Spring from the Amish, the Shaker song and all that. So you wanted that in the music. So the Chinese music is similar to that, because most Chinese music is pentatonic. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1 of a scale. It's the pentatonic 5 notes. And it uses that in all the music. But people don't tell you that some of the music, Debussy, which is so healing, you hear Clair de Lune, boom, bum, bum, ba-da-da. That's pentatonic. He took his influence from Japan and China. That's all pentatonic. So the Chinese influence is everywhere, which, studying the anthems, I was starting to see the patterns. So anyway, once you start studying the Chinese music and the communist part, what was before the communist, the music, some of it it's amazing. And it's beautiful.
After you wrote the music and you submitted it, did they then add lyrics to it? Does somebody sing to it, or is it just an instrumental piece?
Funny enough, my wife wrote the lyrics.
Really?
And I'll have to share that with you. And the lyrics are beautiful. I have a video of it that I put together. And this gentleman just gave us specific guidelines. He wrote something down, but it wasn't fully there. So we had to finish it. And whenever someone gives you just a little tidbit of something, it becomes all your work anyway. But I didn't want to overproduce it and see, when I produce people, I'm always aware of their vision. That's so important.
Right, I bet.
And same thing when I'm backing up a singer, it's the same thing. I want them to be the lead. I just want to play the supportive role. That's what I'm hired for. If I'm singing, it's my vision. If someone else, I want to support someone and make them sound good and make them feel good. And they walk away because I've had people produce my music before and it's like their vision. And I'm leaving. I'm like, it's cool, but it's not really me. It's like someone dressing you with the wrong clothes, And so this guy loved the work I did for him. But anyway, it got into talking about going back to the healing aspect of your question. If you're studying any world music, whether it's Jamaican music, Haitian music, Dominican, Cuban music, you have to go so deep into their culture. And every culture has that healing aspect of music. Because sometimes, rock music or certain artists may have a bad name because it's like, yeah, they were drug addicts or it was just about getting girls and things. That's a component of music, but the healing aspect of music and what it does to your spirit and making you realize when you're a musician, it's a blessing on so many levels because it sets up, for example, if you're playing your pieces that you like to practice and it's always a go-to piece. If I'm going to a Bach piece, the architecture of Bach, within 20 minutes, your brain's aligned. You're thinking about things. Your clarity's there. It's because you're doing what you're meant to do.
Interesting.
And your eyes light up,
It's a workout for your brain.
Yeah. And try taking time off from your musicianship for too long. And you're not really well.
Well, that leads to my next question.
Yeah.
As we're getting ready to wrap up the segment, what would you be doing with your life if you weren't in music?
That's a great, great question. I mean, I do love animals. I love, there's a spiritual connection with animals all animals that I've always, and I don't have too many animals, but if I see animals and you get close enough, of course the domesticated animals we all love, but I would say, certain connections to animals really, I think is a beautiful.
So maybe
thing.
perhaps a veterinarian.
Maybe a veterinarian. Yeah. Something with medicine would be nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So it seems like you like to help and heal people.
Yeah.
And animals. And what are the 3 takeaways so far from your career? Like, what are the 3? You could say the highlights of your career, the 3 things you're the most proud about. Like, what are the 3 best things so far that Larry Edoff has gone through in his career to date?
Well, my family, of course, my kids and my wife. I mean, they've, the music is phenomenal, but they've raised the level of awareness of how music has healed them, being part of a family of music all the time in the house. And it's healed them. And both my kids are musicians and my wife's a dancer and a musician in her own way. She's a great, super talented. But, as long as I can share the gift of music, constantly have the gift that I can practice and play, it's so important to always be in that environment where music is being created. But I feel like that gift of understanding and touch extends to the care now, even of my health, cooking, food. Food is so wonderful to cook. I love cooking. I love the spices and that's been an extension of the music because I mean, a lot of musicians, very creative musicians that I've met, they know a lot about food. They know a lot about culture. They know a lot about certain drumming and certain time rhythm and certain lyrics to really shape a lyric. So it's designed, meant for you to get your message across, to heal people. So I'm blessed that I've had these experiences and seen the world because there's people have, all cultures have so much to offer when it's done with love, obviously. But anything with love, that can touch people has
and
changed
your
my
life
life.
has changed over the years
Yeah.
because now you're raising teenagers.
Yes.
So that's a whole different, part of your life now.
Yeah.
It's being there for them, right?
Yeah.
Watching them grow. I mean, I met your son, and how exciting it must be to be in that situation where somebody's a senior in high school, where their whole future's ahead of them, and now they're going to start thinking about colleges, and they're going to start thinking about, all those things. I mean, I remember my days when I was there. It's the most exciting time in a young person's life,
Yeah.
and you and your wife are there to guide them and to enjoy that as well,
Yeah. Well, what I've realized raising kids, to do it properly, it never ends. You're thinking, oh yeah, when they're 14, they're going to be more independent and they'll be able to handle themselves. But as parents, that may have been the old way of life. And you're like, yeah, when you're 15, you're going to know how to do everything and you're going to go out and work. I think that's misguided. I think children and even adults, you need your parents your whole life. It's so important to have that.
I agree. I mean, I'm an Italian, and I grew up in an Italian. Well, actually, I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood, but Italians and Jews got along famously because we were all about family. We were all about food. We were about getting together and engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And so we stayed tight with our parents. Like we never really left the nest. The parents were everything. I mean, and you sought their counsel, right? I mean, even when my dad was old, I would still ask him what he thought about cars and things that I was going to buy, trucks, like, because he knew, So I took advantage of his expertise. But I think the most important thing that I can say is that we lead by example. So like your kids are successful because you're leading by example, and you're a successful man, and you're doing things in the right way, and they're seeing that.
Yeah,
that's your legacy, right?
That's my legacy. And my dad is down here. He's 91. He'll be 91.
I didn't know that. Where's he living?
He lives about 2 miles away.
Perfect.
And he was living in Philadelphia. Unfortunately, my mom, who was a wonderful person and great musician, she passed away, moving to Florida.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
She didn't get a chance to be here to experience
That was her dream, to be down here.
So she passed before she came?
Yeah.
My mom came and then passed, so she didn't get to stay long in Florida. But you know what? It's going to be funny because like we're going to be at that point one day where we're going to be at that age, and we're going to have our kids are going to be looking after us. It's not funny how circle of life, right?
It's very true.
So in our closing minutes, anything you want to, any shout outs you want to give to anybody, any statements you want to make, any advice perhaps you want to give out to our listeners?
Well, Kurt, I want to thank you for having me, and I'm so happy to have met you down here. We really,
you're a solid guy, man. You know what's funny about you? It's like you and I, it's weird because I hardly know you, but I feel like I have this connection with you.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because you're from the Northeast and you're probably a guy that I would have went to high school with,
Right.
There's that connection.
Yeah.
I guess like similar experiences growing up, because you're going to love Florida, man. I mean, we talked about this. It's a little bit different, a little slower, but in a good way. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You're going to meet good people, and Jacked Up will be a fun avenue for you to go out and meet some people and have some fun. Hopefully your family will get to come see you play.
Yeah.
One of the venues we're going to be headlining is right near your house or not too far, so you can bring the family.
I'm excited to be part of this project, and I love this show that you put together here. I'm so impressed.
This show is designed exactly for people like you who are wonderful musicians, but yet people don't necessarily know about where they're from or what their hobbies and interests are and what their passions are. So it gives the viewer a little bit more in depth about, their favorite performers. And people haven't heard you yet, but I'm going to tell them right now to go to your YouTube page to hear some of these songs that we're talking about. Because the Chinese national anthem's up there somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to send it to you. It is.
But I did hear it, and it was pretty amazing.
Well, I'm going to send you. I have a video with it that goes with it.
But you know what I like about you, bro? There's many things I like about you, but your brain, dude, like the scope and the depth of your brain and what you're able to accomplish, like the shit you can do, like different styles of music, and your touch and your feel. I mean, you're a serious guy, man. You're a serious player.
Thank you. Well, I put such, so much solitude with the instrument, which I'm sure you have as well. That solitude, it's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of sitting down. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of gigs that worked and a lot of gigs that didn't work.
I know, but there's a relationship with you and that piano.
Yeah.
There's a love affair. Yeah. It's a relationship. Yeah. Right? I mean, there's probably been many nights of pain and cramping and not happiness, and there's been a lot of love, and there's been it's really you're basically married to that thing, man. When you think about it, how many hours do you spend in front of it?
Well, I used to spend I used to do 6 to 8 hours a day when I was younger, but now, with life and a couple hours.
Yeah, but you've actually financially successfully used that as a launching pad, which a lot of people can't say they have. I mean, you've made money and been successful in the music world.
Yeah.
Composing, arranging, and writing original music.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys you're going to meet that are just nothing but cover guys, which is fine. They can make a living doing that.
There's an art to that as well, to do that properly, to do it right, to really be true to that artist that wrote the song.
How do you feel about artists that you go out and see, like Vince Neil or maybe like David Lee Roth, who perhaps maybe they're a little bit older now and they're not hitting the notes, and maybe I say to myself, I don't know if these guys are in financial peril, but I like to see David Lee Roth stop, because he's ruining he's ruining it for me, man. Like,
Well, you can see everyone goes through at a certain age. You're like, should I still be doing this? And they just were so good at it.
But singers are different.
And
you can play piano. You can play piano till the day you die, right? But like when you sing, it's a whole different instrument. It's a different muscle, man. So like when Vince Neil forgets the words and nothing comes out of his mouth, the guy should just stop. He's embarrassing himself.
Yeah,
Am I wrong?
You're right. Well, in some ways, rather than do that, because the way he used to sing was for a young person to go out and belt it like that rock star. But I would say if he went out there and did it in a way that was just a little softer, like, for example, if he called me up to arrange his songs with great guitar work, more acoustic, it wouldn't damage his voice. It would just have to be.
Yeah, you drop the key,
slow it down a
little
little
bit,
bit,
little tempo different.
It wouldn't be what he had, but he aged appropriately to his music.
Right. Good point.
That's what I would say would have been great for any of those rock stars. But his audience wants to see. He'd be better off just doing one song, have a guy that can really cover that stuff well, and he's on stage at the end of the night. People would still go see him.
Here's what it is. There's a lawyer in Manhattan who says to Vince and Vince's manager, hey, there's an appetite. There's a lot of guys in their 60s and 70s that have money now, and they're retired, and they want to see Motley Crue. So get your ass out on stage. And they're like, well, wait a minute, man. We're retired now. No. Financially, it's lucrative. We're going to sell out all these arenas. So like, there's a lot of money behind it. And I think like there's certain guys like, who's the guy, the Jersey guy, Frankie Avalon.
Oh, Frankie Valli?
Frankie Valli.
Yes.
Frankie Valli should stop performing, because now they're just winding him up and they're putting him out there. And I said to myself, man, is it like is his kids doing that to him so he can keep making money? Like, why are they rolling him out there?
And his song, he had the Broadway show,
which was great. No,
was great. But you're 100% right.
He's like 90 now, dude.
It's obscene. It's
obscene.
Yeah.
Somebody's like Elvis. I think that they say the Colonel like made Elvis do stuff before he died. Like Elvis should not have been doing things and taking those drugs.
But yeah,
he was a cash cow.
That's the thing. If I feel he just needs a new brand, and the other stuff. Some of these most bands are tribute. All these classic rocks really are tributes to themselves now.
Exactly.
Because none of them have that instrument. I mean, how can you unless you're really trained, you're an opera singer. Once you hit about late 50s, it kind of changes.
Can we both agree that Steve Perry is one of the greatest rock and roll singers of all time? The guy from Journey.
For that style, yeah. The way he could hold a note and let it soar.
I got another one for you.
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury.
Amazing. He sounds like a guitar, his voice.
Insane what that guy can do.
Yes.
Did you see that movie, by the way?
Good movie.
Wasn't it cool?
I liked that movie.
Yeah.
That was a good, yeah.
That Live Aid thing was just magical, because you could tell that he was clearly not feeling well, not looking well, but he pulled it together, man. He had the greatest performance. I think it was like a 5 or 6 song set.
Did you watch Live Aid?
I did watch it. No. So in 85, It was one of those things, dude. It was simulcasted. Wasn't there like a Philly show and a London show, right? And remember, Phil Collins was famous because he took the Concorde and he did both shows.
Yeah. And I mean, I never saw Queen. I can't remember when he passed, like the 80s?
He died a couple years after that. His health just went downhill real fast. But the movie was great because, from what I remember, it captured that moment, because the crowd was massive, and he had them at his tip of his finger. You know, he's doing the ayo, ayo.
Yeah.
That they were all in unison. Were singing to him.
I'll have to watch that.
Watch it again.
I'll have
And
to
then
watch it again.
there's an Elton John story, but it's kind of like a musical, so it was kind of weird. It wasn't like really like the same thing.
I don't know what that one was about. Yeah, that one lost me.
And then the last one I saw, oh my God, Billy Joel's got a 2-parter. I want to say it's on HBO.
I want to see it. I have to go.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Is it?
It's so good because it really goes in depth about his life, like what he was living, you know, in some guy's house, had no money, but yet he was writing out these hits, and somebody found him, and they got to them on the radio. You're like, you know, because success story, right? You know, and then the cool thing is, his brain was working overdrive because every time he put out a hit record, he would beat it with another one, and then another one, and another one. It didn't stop. He kept creating not songs, records. One after another, after another, after another, after another.
His writing is
for decades. I mean, insanity. How much this top Billboard charts he created, man.
Listen, I remember just playing Summer Highland Falls or Piano Man, New York State of Mind. I know his whole catalog. Every song has such the architecture. Again, it's almost like a classical.
Can we say? Can we be so bold to say that he's like maybe the
Brilliant.
Beethoven of our generation, or like in that realm of genius?
I'd say he encompasses classical elements, the best of the classical elements, Americana, the ragtime, and
storytelling.
His storytelling, his lyrics
are great.
People don't talk how great his lyrics are. But I mean, some of the things, it's like you're traveling and you'll still think, I'm in a New York State of Mind. That always will resonate, that lyric. And Summer Highland Falls about someone bipolar and just so interesting.
Well, say goodbye to Hollywood. He was like, that's when he was moving. He was leaving, getting out of that scene. And he was moving back to New York. Anyway, Larry, we're gonna wrap it up. Listen, man, thanks for coming in. Look forward to hanging out with you personally.
Absolutely.
Hanging out with your family. I love your wife and kids. You got a great family. And looking forward to jamming with you and playing with you, making some music. We're going to have a lot of fun.
I can't wait, man.
All right, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you.